Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to our Saturday upgrade commander build video with the tier 10 Japanese heavy cruiser, the Kushiro. I think that's how it's pronounced, not entirely sure. But regardless, we're going to take a crack at it today and look at the armory, upgrades, modules, armament, combat signals, and the commander. So all of that should be timestamped below, so skip around to what is most convenient for you. Now, first to start off, what kind of cruiser is Kushiro? It is a mid to long range cruiser. A combination of her 10.3 concealment with her exhaust smoke generator that she also has, with her 10 203 millimeter guns, also tied with the fact that she gets a spotter plane and she's extremely vulnerable. So usually my approach is kind of playing, let's say around 12 to 15 kilometers at the start of a battle. And as it goes on, maybe you can push in, but you're looking to be more long range at the start with your artillery being 17.2. But again, spotter plane will get that out a little bit further for you. So we'll get into all that. But talking about the armament, Kushiro is quite weak in terms of her armor scheme. I mean, she gets 25 millimeter, 30 millimeter plating. It's nothing special, compared to the more tanky cruisers or battle cruisers, if you will, here in the game. She has a massive citadel. It's raised in the midsection of the ship, and it's very, very easy. You might be kiting thinking you're fine. The shell goes, overmatches your stern, and goes right into your citadel, or goes to your deck, right into citadel. A tier 10 Hakuyu, CV or something, smashes through your deck. It's kind of like the list goes on and on. So it's this extremely fragile cruiser, which will make you want to play quite timidly. But most cruiser players will get a lot more if they play a little bit more, knowing when to be aggressive and push up. Now, in terms of her modules, with our reload time, we have a 9.7 second reload time. These are 360 degree turning turrets that have a 180 degree turn time. So it's very convenient to have the full rotation on the turrets. And you probably saw that armor is really weak. So you will have main battery guns incapacitated from time to time. Maximum HE shell damage, 3,300. Slightly less than Zao. I think Zao's 3,400. And then the maximum AP shell damage is 4,700. Zao has over 5,000. So it's a little bit of a softer punching Zao, if you will. I guess that's a good way to phrase it, but it just has some trade-offs in terms of the consumables set out that you get with Kushiro. Hit points 54,700. If you take Charlie Kilo, you'll go up to 57,450. That's also tied with Survivability Expert on our commander. Torpedoes, we get 16 torpedoes as a whole. So I'll just pop this up over here so you can see 4x4, 610. They have a 100-second reload time. Maximum range 8 kilometers. They hit like little trucks, 21,367 with a speed at 76 knots and 1.8 kilometer detectability range. So torpedoes do fine. It's usually, these are the type F3 torps. Usually you only really get these off if someone's pushing super aggro on you, or you're using your exhaust smoke generator. Like we talked a little bit about a yellow Emilio possibility at the end of yesterday's YouTube video, and someone commented on yesterday's video saying it's totally possible to do that paired with the hydro. So we'll get into that as well. And then armament 17.2. I don't take the main artillery plotting or whatever that gives you a longer range, because these 203s are a little flighty. And they don't travel as fast as Zao. Zao has faster shell travel time. So it's more difficult to hit the targets at longer range, particularly cruisers, destroyers, or battleships with like rudder shift. Talking about like a Libertad as an example. So you get some fishy ships, it's harder to hit at the range. So 17.2 has been fine for me. And again, we have spotter plane to help us out when we can farm some ships further at range. Maximum speed, 34.5 knots. I do recommend taking Ceramic to set you over to 36.2. Just helps with your speed and avoiding some things in the game if you find yourself in a troubling situation. In terms of the upgrades, first we've taken the main armaments mod 1. This reduces the risk of the main battery and torpedo tubes becoming incapacitated by negative 20%. Improves the main battery torpedo tube survivability by plus 50%. And the repair time is reduced by 20% as well. So that is good. So that helps with the main battery being rather weak. And then also, when you're looking at the torpedo tubes, they are concealed within the ship, so that helps, but at the same time, it's still possible for them to be incapacitated. It's happened to me. So I do recommend that out of all the other options here. I don't really recommend spotting aircraft mod 1 here personally, because we're pairing it with Eye in the Sky. The second slot, if you're able to invest in a special upgrade, I do recommend the Hydroacoustic Search mod 1. This is going to boost your action time by plus 20%. So that puts us to a 120-second action time right now. So I think otherwise it's just 100 seconds, and we can bump it up a little bit more with the combat signals. But it's 5 kilometer. It's really helpful to have, and I've preferred it going over engine room protection, which would be the other option I would take here. So if you can't afford this special upgrade, it's 17,000 coal or 12,750 with a 25% off coupon. Then just take engine room protection. Third slot, we've taken the aiming systems mod 1 to reduce our horizontal and vertical shell dispersion. I'll put it on the right side of the screen here. So reduce it by -7%, so it's going to drop your vertical and horizontal by, let's say, 10 plus meters on the vertical and horizontal. So that's very helpful to have some tighter hitting salvos. And then we also get a little buff on the torpedo tube traverse speed, as well as a secondary battery, but I don't even remember if this ship has secondary battery. It does. It's got some 100mm guns there. Otherwise, you could take the smoke generator modification 1. You could extend the action timeout on this. You see, it's a plus 20%. Right now, it's 30 seconds. So you would be getting 6 more seconds, 66 seconds. Oh, sorry, 36 seconds, excuse me. 39. So you could, yeah, that could be a possibility. But you're not always utilizing the smoke screen. I mean, like Venezia and some others, I'm like, yeah, it totally makes sense. But it could be very fair to take, especially if you want to YOLO something as an example. So these two would be my top recommendations. Again, this is going to be 17,000 coal or 12,750 with the 25% off coupon. Otherwise, in terms of another standard, unique, or upgrade, I would just go for main battery mod 2 to improve the main battery traverse speed. You can try these all out. Let me know if you take something different here in the comments, and how have you liked it compared to aiming systems mod 1. I'm just an accuracy nerd a little bit. Fourth slot, propulsion 1, time to reach full engine power when accelerating, -50%. Definitely need. I think this is the king of all 4 here. I avoided the main salvo. If you probably caught that little glimpse in the video the other day, it's helped me avoid some torpedoes and smoke screens, this, that, and the other. So I would recommend going for a propulsion mod. Concealment, you do have a decent detectability before you put conceal on the commander and on the ship. Effectively we're able to get down to 10.3, and then by air it's 6.2. Your AA is 5.8. So I do recommend going for the conceal route. The ship is just really squishy, and I think Zhao, you could be like, yeah, I can do more Lighthouse with Zhao, or some of the other ships in the game like Hindenburg, but not really on Kushiro. So concealment system mod 1 is what I recommend. 6th slot, main battery mod 3, that gives us the 9.7 second reload time. Then we pair with Adrenaline Rush or even top grade gunner, which we'll get into. It'll start dropping down even more past that 9.7 to like 9.5, 9.4, 9.3, etc. I have preferred it the most. Other people might want to lean towards the main battery firing range by plus 16%. I don't really recommend it because, again, the shells are flighty and we get spotter plane. And if you take the Eye in the Sky commander skill, it helps get the spotter planes back up more consistently. So ideally, if ships are starting to try to exceed your 17.2 kilometer range, then you should be turning back in to push, again, as an example. Otherwise, main battery mod 3. In terms of the armaments, so high explosive, you have a decent fire chance, 17%. As a whole, we could bump that up to 19% here. Then we have maximum damage 2,300. You pin 34mm. Again, these are 203s with 840 meter second shell velocity. The armor piercing has the same initial velocity and 40 meters a second, 4,700 maximum damage. So if you do get some broadside cruisers and battleships or aircraft carriers, you should be utilizing your armor piercing. Again, the torpedoes, 100-second reload time, 8-kilometer range, 21,367 damage, speed 76 knots, 1.8. So again, it's really more if something's trying to push you, or maybe a submarine pops up on you, a YOLO Emilio is trying to YOLO you. You have ships pushing into you as you're kiting away. You know, they're 10 kilometers away from you, and you're running. Then you could utilize the torpedoes more effectively. Or if you want to YOLO Emilio yourself, you can definitely do that with these 16 torpedoes. The depth charge airstrike is 8 kilometers. I kind of wish it was 10, but like that would be just too much. You know, it's more like the battleships get the further range. But it's effective. You saw us utilizing it yesterday with the U-4501 that was just yellowing the flank. So we got some direct hits here. So regardless, good to have. Great that it's not ship-based depth charge strike. Or ship-based depth charges. Consumables, we have a normal damage control party, 5-second action time, 60-second cooldown time, an unlimited number of charges. Repair party, 287 hit points per second. We want to take India Delta if you're playing random ranked or clan battles. It'll take you up to 344. Not that I think this is a good clan battleship or a ranked ship, to be honest. Although the YOLO Emilio effect with the ship might be a possibility, but you know, you also have to take into account what ships are going to have hydro and radar that might make it a little more difficult to do that. As an example, 28-second action time, 80-second cooldown time, and we get 4 here. Spotting aircraft, plus 20% range, so that puts us up over 19 kilometer range. I think maybe it touches into 20. I can't fully remember off the top of my head. But we have 100-second action time with a cooldown time of 120 seconds. Normally it'd be 240, but because we have an eye in the sky skill, it's halved. So we're getting our spotter planes up much more effectively, which honestly, to get the most out of the ship, I view you need that skill. We'll talk about it. And we get 7 of them, also due to the skill. You can also have fighter, but fighter is not worth it. Just stick with spotting aircraft. The next slot we have hydroacoustic search or defensive AA fire. Hydro. I mean, everything gets torpedoes these days and submarines, this, that, and the other. So it's just great to have, and also pairing it with your exhaust smoke generator, again, if you do decide to push it on a target to torpedo them. And also why we built into the hydro. So 5 kilometer range of ships, 3.5 of torps, 2 kilometer of submarines at their maximum depth. High 20-second action time with cooldown time of 120 seconds, and we have 4 of them. Now we can take the Sierra Bravo, and that's going to bump it up to 132-second action time, which I do recommend. And then with the exhaust smoke generator, so without the combat signal, it's a 30-second action time. It's a smoke screen dispersion time of 10 seconds. So you can think of it as if you stop in the last puff of smoke, you have 40 seconds of smoke, if you will. You get 5 of them. We'll again check out the commander. But if we also take the X-ray Papa 1, then we get a slightly longer action time on the smoke. So then it's 33 seconds. So then like 43 seconds if you utilize the last puff of smoke. Other combat signals I like running the November Foxtrot. This is a negative 5% on the reload time on the consumables. So 57, 76, 114, 114, 114. Now the other thing to take into account here, it's really going to depend on you. I mean, the AA defense is kind of meh, so I don't really feel like swinging for the AA combat signal. But I have debated, and I have been running something like this in case I were to have to ram something, like a sub pops up on you, or you ram something when you're going in. So on Friday, I was running this combat signal setup. But if you're definitely not intending to ram anything, then you could go for this as well. Now, in terms of the commander, we do have some other commanders we could run here. We could run Yamamoto Isoroku. I don't remember his cruiser skill setup. I think I've got him more for, I think this was a Yodo. Here's a Yodo layout. I don't remember. But it was more torpedo focused, where, here on Kushiro, it's not a torpedo focus. But you've got some skills here or talents if you were able to pick up second wind talent or the emergency reserve if you get the first blood. So just know that you could, if you were going for more of a gun build with your Yamamoto Isoroku, which I would recommend because, you know, a lot of the Japanese heavy cruisers, as an example, they tend to need the grease the gears skill. So that can help you out on Kushiro since it's a 30-second action time. Other commander you could run a seasoned commander like this fella here, and has the enhanced survivability expert. But with that being said, this is my setup here. Now I'm gonna kind of, I might critique myself a little bit here. Some other options to consider. At a glance, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about top grade gunner here on Kushiro, because I don't feel like I've effectively got a ton of use out of this, because this only gets a -8% on the main battery reload time when something's within our center detectability range, which is 10.3. And ideally, most of the time, you really don't want to be within 10.3 of something near you. Now, that could be like, you know, you might have like a destroyer or a cruiser that's within while your smoke is up. So 7.6 as an example. I've had that happen once or twice. So then you're able to utilize the effect. Otherwise, I honestly don't get much use out of the top grade gunner. Now, if I was playing something like Zal, I could see top grade gunner, or Yoshino or Azuma, then I could see more of going for top grade gunner. I'm a little conflicted if it's of use here on Kushiro, but I wanted to test out this build, and I'll give you guys some of my other thoughts. If you drop top grade gunner, what else might I take? So let's just walk through this 21-point build, and then I'll show you probably 2 or 3 different builds you could do on top of this build. So to help with that 30-second 180-degree turn time on the turrets, we do have grease the gears here. It'd be very easy to run a different commander that has some seasons or enhanced skills like Yamamoto Isoroku or one of the other Japanese commanders I just showed you. To have, whether it's grease the gears or the enhanced skill on the survivability expert, so you get a little more hit points. Honestly, that would be pretty good to also be running on here, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So let me just walk through from the first line of points to the 4-pointer skills. So grease the gears, plus 50% for the 30-second 180-degree turn time. We also have gun feeder, -40% on the main battery type shell switching time, so effectively you see 5.8. Now I like running this when I'm seeing broadside cruisers or battleships. I do switch. You saw that a little bit when there was that Salem going to peek out around the island, and we just finished him off with Aichi because he was so low. But it's definitely worth considering running here. To each your own, because it's 203s. The AP is pretty decently nice here. The eye in the sky, it's a -50% on the cooldown time, and you get 2 more spotters. So normally you would have 5 spotters only, but here we have 7. And then instead of 240-second cooldown time, it's 120-second cooldown time. I really recommend this skill if you're going to be playing Kushiro. It's extremely helpful. We have Adrenaline Rush, so as we were losing hit points, we're able to drop that 9.7-second reload time down to 9.6, 9.5, 9.4, 9.3 as examples. We have Superintendent, which is giving us the additional spotter plane, additional repair party, the additional smoke generator, exhaust smoke, and the additional hydroacoustic search. So, Superintendent, very much needed on this boat. Survivability Expert, very much needed on this boat. Between that and Charlie Kilo, you know, just bolstering your hit points and helping your survivability is extremely helpful because you can definitely get death struck in this boat. And then we have Concealment Expert, so that 10.3 by sea that I talked about a little earlier, and then 6.2 by air. Going into the next is Top Grade Gunner, so we have a permanent effect of having a -10% on our secondary battery reload time. And then the automatically activates is whenever there's a enemy ship within your ship's standard detectability range, your main battery will reload faster at 8% faster. So this is the build I've been running. Honestly, I kind of like this skill when I have had some pesky destroyers who aren't respecting the boat You know, I think there was a Trump that was popping up in our top grade gunner range, and then there was the sub as example. So I have liked it, but you know, to be honest, if I was going to consider a different build, what might I do? So as example, let's say, can I just, let me send him to the reserve and see if I can't just throw on another random different commander. Do I have, yeah, I've got, well, could I do that? What was his cruiser skills? I'm just trying to see if I have one that's not, yeah, let's do him. So it was on Shima. So some other options of what you might do here. I mean, this guy's already better because he gets even more hit points. So as an example, you know, we could be like 58,000. I think otherwise it was like 57 something. But again, as example, what is the build we're running right now? It's this skill, this setup. If I was going to drop top grade gunner, which I'm honestly inclined to do for Kushiro, again, not for like Zhao or Azuma or Yoshino, but let's just say as an example, this gives us 4 points to play with. Now we could do a combination of things here. You know, maybe you're worried about where is that submarine, that destroyer that's near you, then you get a little more indication here, but you're not playing as aggressive with the Kushiro, or maybe you want to have this paired with your Hydro if you intend to kind of do a YOLO Emilio effect. Then I could see the value for radio location here, but honestly that's not me. Other thing you could do if you really want to do the YOLO Emilio effect, you could take Pack-a-Punch, so your torpedoes now do almost over 24,500 damage. Again, not necessarily me. Probably what I would consider doing here, to be honest with you guys, is I would take priority target. I think a lot of players in general would benefit out of having priority target. It just gives you a better situational awareness, and because the ship is just so easily, it's so easy to be dev struck in this boat. You know, having that additional awareness to me would be a win here on this. Now we could do something else, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment. And the other thing is to take consumable enhancements, so we get a plus 10% on the hydro time and a 10% on the smoke generator. So if we did 10% on top of the 33 seconds we have right now, then that would be, you know, 36 seconds. So that's nice. And to go then from 132 seconds action time on the hydro to what we're talking about, closer to over 140. Close, yeah, over 146 or something like that. Just 144 seconds. Just kind of shooting numbers off the top of my head. But that would be a pretty good setup, running something like this. That's solid. The other option you could do is you could drop priority target and take demolition expert. So you have more of a blast damage radius on subs, and you have a 1% more on your fire chance. So now we're rocking a 20% fire chance, which this boat does quite well. And then I might then consider giving up gun feeder and going for incoming fire alert when warning about a salvo fired at your ship from a distance of more than 4.5. So then you basically know I got to take some evasive maneuvers here. I do like this setup, this one as an example, to have a longer lasting smoke and build into the fires, because it's a little bit, Kushiro is a little bit more of a fire, or it's a fire starter, fire farmer. You know, I think Cerberus still reigns supreme here with its crawling smoke generator and its even higher fire chance than with its, what is it, 9 or 12 203s. But there's some things here that Kushiro does that Cerberus doesn't do. So this would be a very fine option, if I'm being completely honest with you. If you're not going to be stressed about switching between high explosive and armor piercing, I'd be very comfortable with this setup. Otherwise, if that 1% fire chance and then the 15% explosion radius on all munitions on submarines, if I'm not really stressed about that, then I would just kind of go this route, to be honest. Now, I am forsaking, of course, Last Stand and not taking it on Kushiro, but again, it's kind of worth the risk in my opinion. You know, you're just trying to be mindful of map awareness when you're being shot at. You know, or I'll just smoke up You know, if I didn't have smoke, then it might be a consider taking more like last stand. But you're not meant to play on the front lines in this boat. Only when the YOLO becomes an option of maybe then you still have your damage control party. So this could be another setup as well. So yeah, so again, this is the setup I was running on the Friday video. To be honest, I don't really feel like I'm getting a ton of use out of the top grade gunner with Kushiro. You know, for me, I really feel like I would rather get some more damage in with the boat. So a little longer lasting smoke or a little more of a farming going here with high explosive. I think this would be one of my top 2 options. And then this would be my other top 2 option, taking something more like this, just because, you know, it's quite fun. You know, I think the ship's okay overall, and just depending on how you have it built, the more you're going to get it run out of it. You know, you're making it a little bit more niche if you were to go for something like this. If you're trying to think more about the yellowing effect here, you know, then you might be doing something like that. As an example, if I really wanted to go niche, but I'm like, nah, I think I'll just play YOLO Emilio. So I hope this video has been helpful, give you some different thoughts and ideas of what you could be running on your Kushiro. Just be wary, you know, when you get shot at, that's basically the only time that, you know, panic. But yeah, of course, you're not as weak as something like a Minotaur. So if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.